Good morning, everyone. My name is Dipesh Deshmukh, and I welcome you guys to yet another webinar of IBG. A very quick, brief introduction of IBG. IBG is India Business Group. We are a chamber of commerce, and the whole focus of our chamber is to help our members in any way we can to get business, to get connects nationally as well as internationally. Yes, we are connected with several international chambers from all over the world, and we have MOUs in place, and we do such meetings very regularly where our members are invited with the Chamber of Commerce members of other countries. So people who are not members, please make use of this chamber because we are absolutely on a roll. I request anyone who's here for the first time, if you can type your name, mobile number, and email address in the chat box so we can update you guys with the next webinars that we have. With that, I also would like to introduce everyone to our team of IBG. Siddhi, Girish, and Sujata, they are the ones who are helping us tirelessly. They take care of the members, they take care of any of issues, they help us connect with other members or other inquiries that the chamber generates for our members. So thank you guys. I also would like to introduce everyone to our CEO, Ms. Priya Pansare. Priya is the one who is, the brain behind this new avatar of IBG, and I'm really, really thankful to Priya for this. And finally, I would like to introduce the founder president of IBG, Mr. Vikash Mittersen. Vikash, I would love to hear a lot of words from you.
Thank you, Dipesh. So it's not a very, very exciting phase. As we all know that the second surge is very bad. It is not only more infectious, it's very, very unhealthy in the sense many more people are dying in the country. The infection is very deep and people are not, the doctors and hospitals and the entire administration is nearly failing trying to cope up with this situation. To tell you briefly about IBG, when this happened, the whole thing started 14th of March, I think last year. We were a one city chamber and we used to meet physically and we only had Bombay members. We quickly realized that if we continue that, it will be the end of IBG. And my team completely took over and we spread out across the country. We became an online chamber. We now have more than 50 chamber partners over the last 1 year. And we're doing a lot of stuff internationally. More than, I think, 40 chambers connected outside India and around 10 within India. We are very ready to help members or those who want to become members to connect with possible clients wherever they want. So that was my brief. I think let's go on to the main discussion today. This is
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Vikash. And I purposely didn't say a few words because we wanted to hear a little more from you.
So I spoke a little more this time.
Yeah, thank you so much. All right. So before we bring on our main speaker, a few requests. Everyone will be on mute in this session. I will request everyone to keep your videos off so that we don't distract anyone. Only the speakers will have their video on. And anyone has any questions for our speaker, kindly type them in the chat box. So at the end, we will have a Q&A session and I'll be more than happy to ask your questions to Vandana ma'am. Lastly, again, once again, if anyone is here for the first time, please type your name, mobile number, and email address in the chat box so we can get back to you, reach out to you with future events. With that, I am absolutely happy and excited to introduce our today's speaker. It's my fortune that I'm going to host her for the second time. She's an absolutely wonderful person. Her name is Mrs. Vandana Gupta. She's a cancer survivor. She started VCare in 1994 to provide emotional support to cancer patients. She has won several awards for her work nationally as well as internationally. And she believes that together we can and together we will conquer cancer. I love the statement that she always says, VCare is a place where ideas begin and hope never ends. With that, a big, big welcome to Mrs. Vandana Gupta. Ma'am, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Deshmukh. And like you said, hope never ends. But before we start on that, I would just like everybody to think for a second about all the families who may have lost a family member to COVID. And we respect them, we regard them, and we give offer our condolences and strength to the families, and also hope that though somebody may have passed away, but there is hope in life. So if you can take that with a pinch of salt, it will be really nice. So coming to today's topic, hope in the, I mean, it's contradictory because cancer and hope don't go together, and hope in the time of COVID does not go together at all. But I feel hope is being able to see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. There was never a night that could defeat sunrise. Fear never builds the future, but hope does. Cancer is always considered as a death sentence. The diagnosis leaves people stunned and they see the sword of death hanging over their heads. This is aggravated by our friends in the media who like to make all negative news as breaking news. We've never heard of a positive story coming out on the news to encourage people or to give them strength. Today, of course, Corona has become the big dreaded word, and it's really, everybody's talking about Corona. But I would like to add that, hopefully COVID will go away in some time, but cancer will not go. Cancer is always going to be there. So we have to think of all the things that we can do for cancer patients and how to provide hope to them. Just before we move on, I would like to say that in 2020, the number of cases of surgery in TMH went down to 6,002 from 8,641. The number of patients in TMH came down by 25%. But in this also, we see hope. There were people who came to the hospital undergoing so much trouble. They were hopeful that they would be treated and they would be looked after. They faced the trauma of travel. They faced the problems in accommodation. Food was a big challenge. I've known of patients who have come by a road or a taxi and slept in the car for 2 days while their checkups were going on because the hotels and accommodations were not taking in people without because of the fear of COVID. They exhibited hope, I think. We know that because in stage one, the survival is 90%, in stage two, it is 75%, and in stage three, it is 40%, and in stage four, it is 24%. Our doctors kept the hope. They ensured that they were available for the patients. The paramedics supported them. All this offered hope during the COVID times. Not any doctor from Tata Memorial Hospital, which is such a leading center of cancer, was awake. And they were making sure that all arrangements were done so that the patients who came were neither, they were careful that they were not COVID patients. And if they were, it wasn't that they were turned away, they were treated. They made wards in the hospital for COVID patients. And so they were treated, and then the cancer patients were also looked after and treated. Again, I would say stories of hope, which we must all understand and appreciate. Patients, when you are speaking to patients, they would say they're not sure what will kill them, whether it will be cancer or COVID. The supportive services, like us being there or talking to them, was not available. The relatives were not allowed to come to the hospital because it was a challenge to have so many people. That was the only way to control people coming inside. But the good part is, the patients who would otherwise fuss and say that they wanted people to come, they wanted somebody. How would they manage? They all were with the doctors. They all were with the rules, and they all obeyed what was being told to them without frowning, without making a noise. Again, I think it's a story of hope because people understood that if they wanted to be treated, they had to go by what has been told. They had to be walking hand in hand with the people who were treating them. We felt and intuitively knew that there would be better days ahead, and that gave us the strength to make personal sacrifices. We hope that in 2021 we would begin the gradual return of normalcy, and that hope sustained us through the moments of loneliness, fear, and anxiety. All of us were scared. All of us had fears. All of us were anxious. But then we had to keep the hope alive because we always thought that there was somebody else who was looking up to us. It is in these critical moments that follow a diagnosis of cancer or the fear of catching a deadly virus that we make choices about how we frame our experiences. To tell you something about WeCare, it's a support group with working with cancer patients and their families, offering them hope in every fear of their lives. When the cancer strikes, then people react indifferently. And it is here that we want to be with them to tell them how each reaction is okay, because we don't know the problem that the patient may be having otherwise. At home, whether it's his job, whether it's his children whom he has to leave behind, whether who would be taking care of things. So that is why each problem was different, and we had to understand the hurdles that the patients face. WeCare was doing everything that was possible, offering a maximum of counseling services and physical training programs remotely. They may not have the same levels of effectiveness, but they can still help reduce stress and the sense of solitude and war of fear and depression. Patients were now forced to separate from others, were isolated because their families were not with them, and they also showed sign of depression. But we needed to provide them care. We needed to provide them a helpline and emotional support uh, consisting of creating many things. One of them was the WhatsApp group that we had created for the patients, uh, and the Zoom sessions which we were doing to exchange information and coping strategies. We had many Facebook. I will list out those things, but just to tell you that the total number of patients supported by WeCare were 1,78,226 in the last year. We provided financial assistance to more than 924 patients. We were able to counsel more than 1,16,000 patients. The patient assistance program reached more than 380 patients. The palliative care patients were provided help, it was 147. In-kind support was given to 54,625 patients. Nutrition support was provided to more than 3,000 patients, and childcare support was given to 1167. So again, all these are stories of hope, and it was only possible because of lots of supporters like you. Lots of people who believed in WeCare and who donated, and we were able to do the work that we were doing. But of course, there were risks for the caregivers, and so the desire was that we should finish up the treatment as soon as possible, and whatever happens we should do soon. And then like they say कि उम्मीद के साथ हमें आगे बढ़ने की चाह भी होनी चाहिए. उम्मीद है लेकिन आगे बढ़ने की चाह होनी चाहिए. So what we were doing in COVID times to bring up a hope. One was that the doctors were extremely good to us because they probably could spare some time for us, and different topics were covered, whether it was chemotherapy, radiation, bone marrow transplant, protein therapy, whether how they can be helped during this time at the social work department, various webinars which we were hosting live on Facebook and then putting it on our YouTube, and the people participated. There were lots of people who participated. Then all the patients that we were connecting with, we made Zoom calls to them subsequently. And that really helped them, and they were very happy that there were people who were caring for them and that they could share and talk, and they would happily come. So I think and it also helped them in getting familiar with Zoom calls. 1 year back, could we have imagined people using their smartphones for Zoom calls? No. So again, this was something that was a new learning. I'm really touched by a lady. She is from Punjab, and every day she used to send me a Guruvani. And her thing was that, madam, आप लोग इतने stress में काम करते हैं, थोड़ा बहुत अगर मैं आपके लिए कर सकूं. So I'm sure all of us have touched her in some way for her to send this Guruvani to me. I must thank the IBG platform because of which we were able to get in touch with Mr. Ghanshyam Gupta, who connected us to Mr. Rajesh Gupta in Varanasi, and the Tata Memorial Center in Varanasi was started with the help of Mr. Rajesh Gupta. So thanks a lot, Mr. Sen, for having these programs and people who are interested joining in, because of which we can do our work. So now the Varanasi Center is being run and we are supporting patients there. And Mr. Rajesh Gupta goes there on a regular basis. Again, a story of hope. We could have never imagined that in COVID times we could do something like that. You'll be surprised that throughout the year we have not stopped a single program of ours. Only thing is that all the programs were done virtually. There was no physical thing. We were not allowed to do anything physically, so everything was done virtually. But patients participated. The dharamshalas that they were staying in helped by teaching them how to download the link and how to get onto it and all that. So it was very nice. At the earliest opportunity in December, as soon as we were allowed, we all went back to hospital to do as much as we could. Of course, there were restrictions, there were fears, there were some apprehensions, but whoever could do something, we did that. And I always feel that the doctors did what they could do. Uh, Navya, I don't know if you've heard about it. It's a second opinion platform for patients. And we were able to connect so many patients to Navya from where they got the information that they wanted in the comfort of their home without having to come here. So I think we have learned a lot of important lessons about resistance and resilience during the pandemic. And I'm sure this will go a long way. Uh, Tobacco was not available because the shops were closed. Of course, some people did buy it in black, but for most people, it was not available. Also, there was this fear that if your lungs get affected, then you are going to have problem with COVID. So people try to stop smoking, and also a lot of a big campaign was started about not spitting, and these helped. This was again a positive story because our oral cancer patients who get affected because of tobacco, because of beer smoking, and because of spitting were cautious. Only I think my regret is that during that time, I wish we had also linked up oral cancer with these habits, and it would have reached a far bigger platform. But anyway, I think there. I'm sure the figures subsequently or the research after a couple of years will show if there was a fall in the number of oral cancer patients. Similarly, telehealth picked up in a big way. I must tell you, there's a patient of ours who is a sarcoma patient, a young boy who was working with WeCare, and he was like very, very, very enthusiastic. So the moment lockdown was declared and he was able to, the first opportunity that he was able to travel, he went to his village and he started a telehealth platform. It's called DigiSwasthya. In that, in all about 10 months that it's been working, they have seen more than 100 patients and they've been able to help out more than 100 patients. And out of that, there were few cancer patients. So people who would have otherwise never got medical help or who would have never reached a doctor were able to consult through to the Digi Swasthya platform. So, and also teleconsultation. Can you imagine that we would have done any teleconsultation prior to the pandemic? I can't imagine that because if you ring up the doctors would say, come to the clinic or come to the hospital, come here and we'll have to see the reports and all that. But everybody was, equally interested in bringing about the change. Everybody was happy to introduce new things in their work or way of working, and they were happy to reach out to the patients, which shows the willingness of the doctors to reach out to the patients. They were not ignoring the patients, and so teleconsultation started, and all the patients could load their reports, could talk to the patient doctors, and these are all, I think, instances of great hope in COVID times. We got time to think of various projects that we wanted to do. And it was like we because we were so caught up with the day-to-day activity that we never sat down to think कि आगे क्या करना है, अभी कुछ और नया क्या कर सकते हैं. And so one of the projects that is like uppermost in my mind, which I thought I would share here because there are so many people who are experts in this thing and maybe you can guide us, is to make we know that accommodation is a huge challenge in India now, especially for people who come for treatment to Tata Memorial Hospital. So we were thinking if we can get containers and then refurbish those containers to make into rooms, and patients can be allowed to stay in those rooms. The only place may be difficult is to find, I mean, we may need a nice place for the containers to be parked so that the patients can be there and then we can work on that. So, these type of ideas, even how to take the organization further, how to do things in the organization, what is it that the patient would really benefit from? All those came into our mind, and that is, of course, what we started with. I won't say that everything was very rosy. We have had some losses, we have had some repercussions, but each thing has been a learning, And of course, one thing that I feel that many people, because there was no awareness, because they didn't come for checkups, because they ignored the symptoms, because they thought, they don't want to go to a hospital setting where they can catch COVID, whether they have cancer or not. The cancer stage moved from 1 to 2 or to 3 or to 4. So those results will be seen only after a couple of years when we see the number of people whose stage changed from 1 to 4, or their treatment got delayed or something like that. But in this also, the good part was that the chemotherapy was curtailed. It wasn't given to the full extent, and they observed that even that was helping out. So maybe doctors will do the research to find out, why we were giving more chemotherapy. So if less can have equally good results, then why not? Similarly, radiation sessions were curtailed because they felt that for people to stay for a month over here, instead of that, if it can be done in a week and then some oral medicines can be given, and it has worked. We ourselves know that we used to we send medicines, targeted therapy medicines to patients, and normally we are the ones who keep telling them that you must take your medicine on time. On every, if it is for 28 days, you must ensure that the medicine reaches you on time and all that. So all that we were doing. But now, because of problems with courier and because of courier with problems with transportation, the medicines were not reaching the patients on time. But you'll be surprised to know that even if there was a delay in the treatment, the medicines reaching them, there has not been a single death because the medicine did not reach on time, which itself is an extremely heartening thing to know, and which also, again, I think will give food for thought to the doctors to think about these type of things, because earlier it was like whatever has been decided was being done, but here we got a chance to do what was not even decided, but it has worked well. So a great opportunity for research will come up from there. And so it is hope that has kept us going, and it is hope that that will keep us going, I think. And I would like to say something like समय की बहती धार में सालों का हिसाब रखने के बजाय जो मिला है, चाहे वो सबका प्यार हो, खुशी के पल हो, चाहे आने वाले उजियारे हो, इसी में उम्मीद की किरणें देखकर जीवन में थोड़ी खुशी की बहार ला सकते हैं। हार से डर जाने के बजाय कोशिश करते रहना जरूरी है। So we want to believe in our new motto. We want to add to our motto to say that in spite of all adversities, try and create realistic hope. We have to be realistic hope, and we look forward to your support. If, like I said, that because of the IBG platform, we were able to start work in Banaras, in Varanasi. In the same way, if there is something else, if you can support us, by which we can help the patients, it would be really grand. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
All right, sorry, I was trying to unmute. Thank you so much, Vandana ji. It was an absolute insightful talk, and we got to know so much about your work, the struggles of people, and so on. And it's absolutely a delight to also understand that because of IBG platform, you were able to open a center, and because of that, a lot of people are getting help. So very happy to hear that. We have some questions, so I'm going to ask you those questions. Okay, so why is there only one institution like Tata Memorial in India? All business houses have huge funds and can easily do so many such hospitals across the country.
So first of all, let me clear this myth that there's only one hospital. Tata Memorial itself has more than 4 or 5 centers across the country. Some have already opened, and are in the process of opening. So it's just that for so many years we've been always thinking of cancer and Tata, and so everybody or anybody in any part of the country has cancer wants to come to Tata. But there are centers, like I said, in Varanasi, near Chandigarh, near Vishakhapatnam, and and in Assam. So there are so many centers which have come up, but it's just that gradually things will improve. Similarly, AIMS has started. AIMS was shooting in Delhi, but also has lots of centers. So it's just that people need to start believing in those centers and going. And most of these centers have doctors who have been trained in Tata Memorial, who have worked in Tata Memorial. So I think it should be a good step for people to start believing in the hospitals that they have. And like I said, Navya is an excellent platform for second opinion. So that also helped us because we were able to, like I request people. And in Navya, it is that if you are below poverty line or you earn less than 2 lakhs per year, then you can get free opinion. If you are above that, then you have to pay 10,000 rupees, and then everything is taken. Guided to you. So once you have the opinion, you can meet your doctor, and yet this opinion is given by a consortium of almost 285 hospitals. So they've chosen best from each field, and they get the results. And within 48 hours, you can get the results. So instead of coming to Mumbai and spending time and staying somewhere, meeting a doctor, all those things, you get it at your house, and you can go with that to your doctor. And the doctors, since 285 centers are involved, most of the centers are involved in the thing, and they are all happy to take each other's opinion. So that is there. And as far as having funds, a lot of people on your platform today will be the right type of people who would have funds and who would be able to do things. So maybe this is the time to go and meet the directors of the hospitals and tell them that you have funds and you would like to do, because I know for a fact that like today in the morning only I was talking to the director at Tata Memorial Hospital, and he said that they have stretched to big COVID centers in many places, which are being run by Tata Memorial Hospitals, but they have to be staffed. For that staff, they need financial support. Now, how do they go about it? Because there is nobody who wants to support anybody for paying towards the salary of the staff. But if there is something that somebody here can do, then it will help, because there are at least 4 or 5 COVID centers that have been put up across the city by Tata Memorial Hospital. Similarly, there are a lot of centers which have come up, and if you can either join them or you can talk to the directors of the hospital to say that you have funding and you would like to support, that would be really good.
All right, all right. So, in fact, on the similar lines, somebody has asked us a question: how can one help? So,
should I write my telephone number and they can get in touch with me?
Absolutely, absolutely. Girish will do that for you. You don't have to, right? Okay. Girish will put your contact details so people can reach out to you directly. Yeah. All right, Girish, please help people with the contact details.
Yeah.
Then there's one more question. So you mentioned that a lot of people are doing the telemedicine and the online checkup and all that. So how effective is it, and how much people have accepted that as a possible treatment method?
See, as far as teleconsultation is concerned, I think it has been accepted in a very big way, because all the at least Tata Memorial Hospital, I know Apollo Hospital, I know Fortis Hospital, all of them have teleconsultation platforms. So you just need to take an appointment with them. And of course, Tata Memorial is very reasonable about the charges, but others are, according to the whatever it is. And then they either have a platform where you can upload your photographs, you can upload your x-rays and everything like that. And the doctor sits with you and gives you about 15 to 20 minutes in consultation. And then I think you can do 2 or 3 consultations free of charge repeatedly after that if the need be. And it's good because, and even if, I've noticed that suppose there is a patient in a place where he cannot come to Tata Memorial because of whatever reasons. then the doctors in Tata Memorial, if he gets in touch with them, tell him about the doctors who are around his area.
Okay.
And then they also write to them, that this is the problem. They send all the reports and they say that this is what it is. And then this is how we would have done if we had come to Tata. So the doctors are extremely helpful there and they are taking it up. And I think it's a big thing because, in small places, the doctors who were not so well known so far, whose expertise must have been great, were being recognized, are now recognized. And I think that is a good thing because we will have so many more cancer specialists coming in who will be able to work. I think that itself is a big thing for all the cancer patients, because so many new doctors have been discovered in this process.
All right. Interesting. Okay. One more question we have is, so there are many treatments or therapies that are used for cancer that can also be used in treatment of COVID. How far this is true? And if yes, then what are your comments?
See, I'm not a medical doctor, so I really won't be able to comment much on it. But I've heard that some of the medicines are being used, but it has to be under the guidance of the doctors, and they are the best people to tell you. But I've also heard, and I think one thing that we should really stop believing in is the WhatsApp University. It's a great university, but creates a lot of confusion in the mind of so many people. So I would say that people should not really believe everything that comes on WhatsApp. It should be just taken with a pinch of salt. But if you're doing anything, it should be consulted with a doctor. Like if you are a cancer patient, in what stage you are in, whether you can go in for vaccination. I mean, I get these questions constantly. But I have grade 3 cancer, and what do I do? I'm not a medical person. I don't want to give any wrong advice to anybody. So under those circumstances, it's best to get in touch with your doctor and take the right decision and go about it in the right way.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned about the WhatsApp University, and oh my God, I mean, it's such a big university that people believe it in totality at times. So I'm glad you brought it up.
The same message gets circulated, and by the end of the day, you must have received the same message at least 10 times or 15 times. And then naturally, somebody who is not so familiar, if you receive the same message 15 times, you begin to believe that there must be a truth in it,
Correct.
But everything that you read on WhatsApp is not the truth. It should not be believed in.
Almost nothing is true.
Well, I wish I could say that, but
I can. All right. So moving on to the next question. Again, I know you are not an expert, but you know a lot about cancer than most of us. So the question you can still attempt to answer: is there any regular checkup to ascertain or to avoid facing cancer in the future? So if you can suggest something that is preventive measures that somebody can do.
sorry, can you repeat because I could not hear you?
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So the question is that is there any regular checkup to ascertain that there is cancer in men and women? Is there anything preventive intervention that one can do before unless facing these dire consequences later?
Yeah, definitely. I must say it again that in India we have 50% of our cases which is related to head and neck, which is preventable. So if you can stop the use of tobacco and if you can stop the use of mashidi or chewing pan masala, which is very common these days, any of these flavoring things which are used as mouth fresheners and all that are dangerous. So please stop that. And also, there are very clear signs. If you can't open your mouth, if you try to open your mouth and your four fingers can go into your mouth, it's a good sign. But if you can't do that, then I think it's time for you to go for a checkup. Similarly, if you see white spots inside your mouth, that means there is something which needs to be checked up. Everything may not be cancer, but those are the early warning signs for you to do. So if you can take care of, and these are preventive cancers. So I think first the prevention is important, and then being careful about your own health and about your own symptoms is important. Similarly, the next lot of cancers is related to breast cancer and cervix cancer. And again, breast cancer can be, you can go to a normal gynecologist and learn breast self-examination and do it every month yourself because it's very easy to do. But the first time, I really suggest that it should be done by learned by a gynecologist. And then if you and the lump that comes in cancer in the breast cancer and the normal lump are totally different. You can see it and feel it, and you can know once you've done it on a regular basis. So the earlier you go for your checkup, and you can go and get, and people think that every month they get a mammography done or every 6 months they should do it. I don't think it's necessary at all. And I'm saying not because I don't think, but that is what I've heard from the experts in the field. That if you keep doing your breast self examination and if you get a baseline mammogram done, so that if there are any changes which happen afterwards, then it can be compared to that. And if you have a history of breast cancer, though it is only 0.001% in the family, but still, if your grandmother has, or your nanny, or if your masis have, then it is better if you get a baseline mammogram done so that you are careful about it. And then breast self examination is the best thing. Similarly, for cervix cancer, in fact, cervix cancer is one of those cancers which can be detected even prior to you getting cancer. So if you go in for your pap smear test, again one time and get it done, and that will show you whether you are susceptible to getting that cancer or not. It can be done. I want to here talk about people talking a lot about the vaccination that happens for cervix cancer. So one thing I want to clarify that vaccination has to be done before the first sexual intercourse is performed. So it has to be done at a very young age. 3 cycles have to be given to the person every month for them. And once you are married, once you had a sexual intercourse, something, these days the girls in colleges also are quite open to this idea, then it really does not have so much effect. Unfortunately, the vaccination actually should be given to men also because men can also transmit. But in our country, the ICMR guidelines do not still approve of men getting vaccinated. So girls who are below the age where they would have had their first intercourse may definitely benefit from that, from the 3 vaccinations that are given once in a month. And it is a good idea to take them. And again, like I said, perhaps there is a test which can be done. So that takes care of the women in the house. As far as the men are concerned, they need to have, nowadays a lot of people have lung cancer, a lot of people have prostate cancer and stomach cancer. So, and all these are things which can be detected early. Of course, prostate cancer comes normally after the age of 50 years. But if you can get the PSA test done, it will be a clear indication whether you have prostate cancer or you don't have prostate cancer. Similarly, if you have too much of coughing and too much of heavy breathing, and if you are a smoker especially, then a lung X-ray will show you how badly your lungs are affected, whether it is because of cancer, or because of TB, or because of something. So that is how you go about doing it. And if you've taken care of these two things and gone, and none of these checkups need to be repeated every 6 months or every 1 year, like all the health companies tell you, that they want their business to grow, so they want you to repeat the test every 6 months. I think once you do it, if you're clear for some time, talk to your doctor when the next should be done and only get it done. But don't become paranoid about getting the test done every time, and that is and everything is not cancer. It could be TB, it could be something else, it could be, just nothing, it could be an infection. And don't begin to start worrying, because worrying may cause other things. Stress is one of the biggest factor for any health related issues. So try and avoid stress and be as happy as you can.
Nice, nice. So based on what you said, I'm going to ask you one question in that. Define too much coffee.
No, there's nothing wrong in see one.
No, because you said too much coffee, I got worried. I'm like,
no. I didn't say too much coffee. No, I didn't say something else. No, too much of tobacco, too much of smoking, too much of alcohol. Anything which is too much.
Okay.
Whatever you have in ati, जैसे बोलते हैं अचार खाते हैं, बहुत ज्यादा अचार खाते हैं, उसमें मसाला तेल ये सब ज्यादा.
Correct. Anything too much is bad, right? So वो
Anything
तो है ही.
in moderation, like there are WhatsApp things going on that you must not drink milk, you must not have sugar because that causes cancer. There is no research to show that anything like that happens. But if you are like constantly having something sweet all the time and too much of sugar in your milk and tea and all those things, then you need to be careful. That's why
Agreed.
anything in moderation is fine. Even your exercise, you don't have to become an exercise freak to be doing things all the time. As long as it's in moderation and you are doing something every day, that is important.
Cool. One more question we have. The role of antioxidants for cancer. Your take. I know that antioxidants are absolutely important and they take care of the free radicals that cause cancer. What is your take on it?
Yeah. No, it's correct because see, again, we always try to say that if you can have 5 colored things in the day, you have taken care of all your oxygen. So, things like cabbage, things like capsicum, things like mangoes nowadays, mango season. So all these things are adding to the oxidants in your body and they are good. But again, like, don't sit down with 5 mangoes or 4 mangoes, just a little of it, just a little of the peas and just a little of the potatoes. Have as much of healthy diet as possible, and also think of any other comorbidities that you may have. Because if you have sugar and if you have too much of these things, it may add to your problems. If you
Correct.
have diabetes, high blood pressure, and you have something, it may add. But things like palak and methi and like spinach and all these things are good for your system. So normally we say five. Try. I mean, those who can, if you can have 5 different colors of things during the day, whether it's in fruits or vegetables, it takes care of your oxygen and you'll be happy and healthy.
All right. So this is a good idea because usually healthy diet and healthy diet is not tasty ऐसे माना जाता है, right? So usually.
Huh. No, but we are not. I mean, I don't say that stop or just boil food and have it or something.
Correct.
But I'm saying have what you like, but in moderation, with
I agree.
moderate oil, moderate masala, moderate everything. And once in a while, you can splurge in whatever you like. Once in a
Yes.
while, if you splurge, which can be once in like a month or 2 months, then why are we living? We are living to enjoy ourselves, and we can't just cut down
Correct.
on everything and be like. फिर तो हम लोग कोई मुनि महाराज करना पड़ेगा, कि सब कुछ छोड़ के जीवन जीना है.
Right.
ऐसे.
Great. There are 2-3 more questions, but they are very medical related, so I will not take those questions. So with that, I would like to end the question answer session, and I would like to invite our founder president. Yes.
There's a
Sorry.
1 second. There's a question here on pesticides.
Okay.
That is too much of pesticides bad. Yes, too much of pesticides is bad. There is no doubt about that because we know that it causes a lot of problems. So while we are getting it, when we are getting vegetables in the house or fruits in the house, because of they use a lot of pesticides to increase the growth of vegetables. So
Correct.
that is why I always advise that you must wash it properly. And washing also, like when you take for example, like if you're taking leafy vegetables to wash, then instead of putting it flat and washing, hang it like this and put the water on top. So whatever is there will go out. Similarly, you can use potassium permanganate, a drop of it in water, put all the vegetables together, take it out, dry it up, and use it. So, but wash your vegetables and wash your fruits well, and avoid washing after cutting the vegetables. So wash it well before that, wash your hands well, and then cut. And again, I must say that we need to protect ourselves during COVID if we need to give hope to ourselves and to those around us. So masking, absolutely important, especially double masking if you are going out. Then washing your hands and avoiding meeting too many people at one time and eating with too many people. If it's your family you are eating, it's fine. But if you have outsiders who have come in and you think you can go to a restaurant, then that's not the right thing.
All right. Thank you so much for all these tips. So I would like to invite our founder president, Mr. Vikash Vittarsen, for his closing remarks. Vikash, over to you.
Thank you, Vandana ji. What I'd like to mention to you is that we do what is called webinar series, knowledge webinar series. And ये अगर knowledge नहीं है तो और क्या है? This will fall straight in the middle of that. And I'm sure people loved it. I did. I hang on to every word. What I would like to do, if you accept, is to invite you as an honorary member of IPG. My people will send you a request.
Okay. Thank you very much, and I'm really honored by your asking me to come and talk to people. Somebody like me who has no professional knowledge really, but can share.
You have knowledge more than most professionals. At least you are able to talk about it and impart it.
Like I said, it's my experience in the last 28 years that I have got.
In fact, you should be getting an honorary doctorate. So much knowledge which is there, it's beyond books actually.
I must share with you, Mr. Mittersain, that this April is the month when I complete 28 years of my treatment.
Amazing, amazing.
So it's not 28 years.
I think you're quite unique in this, so don't denigrate yourself. You are the best. Thank you very much. Dipesh, over to you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Vandanaji. It was an absolute pleasure to host you. And we look forward to hearing more from you in the future, and very excited to have you as a member of IPG.
Thank you. Thank you.